There are things in this world that stop you cold. Not because they're vast, not because they're beautiful, but because they don't make sense. Because the explanation you've been given doesn't fit the thing you're actually looking at. Devil's Tower did that to me. So did Table Mountain, so did Roraima, so did Sigiriya. Formation after formation, continent after continent. All of them flat on top. All of them rising from the ground in columns so deliberate, so regular, that the word natural starts to feel like a choice someone made on your behalf. And once I saw what they actually looked like, really looked at them, without the geology textbook framing, I couldn't unsee it. They looked like stumps, tree stumps, enormous, ancient, petrified tree stumps so massive that we built entire national parks around them and called them mountains, and never stopped to ask whether that was actually what they were. What if mountains aren't what we think they are? Not a metaphor, not philosophy, a literal question, one that the deeper I went, the harder it became to dismiss. What if the strange ones, Devil's Tower, the tepuis of Venezuela, the mesas of Monument Valley, Table Mountain rising from the cape like an altar, what if they aren't geology at all? What if they're what's left of something so large and so alive that, when it ended, we looked at the remains and said rock, said formation? Because those were the only words big enough, and even they weren't really big enough. I started pulling on that thread, and the official explanation started unraveling a lot faster than I expected. A thread that begins in Wyoming and doesn't stop, that crosses oceans and geological periods and keeps returning, with unsettling insistence, to the same shape. What if the mountains are the trees? Here is what I noticed once I started looking. Flat tops. Not one, not two, not a regional anomaly that could be explained by a single geological event. We're talking about a pattern that repeats, with unsettling precision, across every continent on Earth. Table Mountain in Cape Town saw elevation 1086 meters. Its top is a plateau so level that early Portuguese sailors used it as a navigation landmark. Not because of its height, but because of the uncanny regularity of its profile. The official explanation: differential erosion. Hard sandstone on top, softer rock below. The edges wore away, the cap remained. Fine, accepted. But then the tepuis of Venezuela and Brazil, Roraima, Cupunan, Ollantaytambo. These are ancient sandstone formations, some of the oldest exposed rock on Earth's surface. And every single one is crowned with a flat, almost geometrically precise top. Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote The Lost World after hearing about the tepuis, called them platforms, islands in the sky, cut off from the world below. Then the butts of the American Southwest, Monument Valley, the Mittens, the mesas of New Mexico, all flat, all cut as if by some process that operated consistently at a particular elevation and then simply stopped. And here's the strangest part. The elevations are different. The rock types are different. The continents are different. The supposed geological eras are different. But the shape is the same. A column or a base, wide or narrow, and then a flat plane at the top. As if whatever was once growing there grew to a certain point, and then the top is all that remained. I'm not telling you these are trees. I'm asking, what is the most parsimonious explanation for a shape that repeats across the world? A shape that looks, from a distance, exactly like the cross section of a stump. Let me talk about columns, because this is where the official explanation begins to strain. The Giant's Causeway in Ireland, about 40,000 interlocking basalt columns, the result of a Paleogene volcanic eruption cooling slowly, cracking in stress patterns that minimize surface energy. This produces hexagons, beautiful hexagons. Columns mostly 20 to 30 centimeters across. Fingal's Cave in Scotland. Same formation, same era, same process. Columns up to a meter wide, still hexagonal. The sound inside the cave is extraordinary, deep, resonant, almost musical. Mendelssohn wrote an overture about it, the acoustics of a cathedral inside a natural formation. Svartafoss waterfall in Iceland, hexagonal columns again. Organ Pipes National Park in Australia, hexagonal columns, smaller scale. Volcanic textbook, the pattern repeats everywhere. Volcanic basalt cooled slowly, which, according to geology, is the explanation for all of these. And I accept that columnar jointing is real, documented, reproducible in laboratories at small scale. But the deeper I looked, the more I noticed that the columnar jointing explanation works elegantly at small scale and begins to buckle under its own weight at large scale. Here's why. In a cooling lava flow, the columns that form are perpendicular to the cooling surface. In a flat lava flow, you get vertical columns. In a curved flow, say inside a lava tube or along a hillside, the columns should curve or radiate or vary. And at small scales, they do. At Devil's Tower, they don't. The columns at Devil's Tower are consistent, parallel, regular in a way that would require either an impossibly uniform cooling environment or, and this is the question, some other process entirely. Some researchers have pointed out that the columnar structure of certain formations more closely resembles the cellular structure of wood than the fracture pattern of cooling lava, specifically the slight tapering. The way the columns bundle together in groups, as in certain types of bark. The presence in some formations of what appear to be growth rings, visible in cross-section at the base. I'm not saying Devil's Tower is a tree stump. I'm saying if it were a tree stump of an incomprehensibly large tree, it would look exactly like this. The tallest living tree on Earth is Hyperion, a coast redwood in Northern California at roughly 115 meters. It is enormous. Standing at its base, you feel the vertigo of scale, the sensation that you are small in a way you usually aren't reminded of. Now consider this coal seams. Some coal seams exist that would require trees of extraordinary size to produce. Not slightly larger than existing trees, not twice the size of a redwood. Seams where, when you do the mathematics, compression ratios of organic material to coal, conversion of the thickness of the deposit versus the thickness of the original peat layer. The math suggests source trees of a scale that has no analog in any living or fossil record currently accepted. The Pittsburgh coal seam runs for tens of thousands of square kilometers across Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio. Its average thickness is around 1.5 to 2 meters. Geologists estimate that, accounting for compaction, you need approximately 10 to 30 meters of original plant material to produce 1 meter of coal, which means the original forest producing the Pittsburgh seam. This single, continuous deposit involved plant life accumulated to depths that exceed anything we have a biological model for. Here's the strangest part. We have no transitional fossil record for trees that large. We have Lepidodendron, the scale tree, which grew to 30 or 40 meters in the Carboniferous. We have Prototaxides, that strange, massive, still debated organism from the Devonian, sometimes described as a fungus, sometimes something else entirely, which reached 8 meters in diameter at the base, taller than most modern trees. We have Sigillaria, another Carboniferous giant, but the organisms required to produce what we actually find in the rock, they are officially unaccounted for. The official explanation for coal seam thickness points to time, to millions of years of accumulation, layer upon layer of ordinary vegetation building up in ancient swamps. And yet the banding structure of certain coal seams is not gradual. It is abrupt, sharp-edged, as if the material was deposited not over millions of years, but over a much shorter, more intense event. This raises a simple but critical question: what are we looking at when we look at coal? And is the story we've been told The most convenient story. The story that fits the existing models. Actually, the story that fits the evidence. I want to spend a moment on petrified wood, because this is where, for me, the official explanation begins to collapse. Petrification occurs when organic material is gradually replaced by mineral deposits. Silica, calcite, pyrite, molecule by molecule, preserving the structure of the original tissue while replacing its chemistry. This is well understood. What is less often discussed is the scale at which it occasionally appears to have occurred. In Arizona, the largest petrified logs are impressive but bounded, some reaching 60 meters in length. Fallen trees, preserved, explicable. But in other locations around the world, something appears in the landscape that doesn't fit so neatly. In the Pre-Ov region of Slovakia, and in similar geological formations across parts of the Carpathians, there are what appear to be sections of petrified material at a scale that does not correspond to any known tree species. Not slightly too large, implausibly large. Sections that could be interpreted at magnification as cellular tissue showing growth ring-like structures, embedded in rock formations officially classified as sedimentary. In Egypt, the petrified forest northeast of Cairo, rarely discussed, largely unvisited, contains what have been described as trees of a scale not matched by any known species from the relevant geological period. The official designation is silicified wood from the Oligocene. What's interesting is what isn't said, how these particular specimens relate to the surrounding geology, why the preservation is so complete, and what exactly they were. The pattern repeats with unsettling precision: large, regular, well-preserved, and officially categorized, filed, and moved on from, without the kind of sustained scientific curiosity that their strangeness might seem to warrant. And that's where the silence becomes impossible to ignore. Not an act of denial, not a conspiracy of loud voices, but a quiet categorization, a filing, a labeling that closes the question before it's been fully opened. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. If this kind of deep dive into what we haven't been told is something that interests you, consider becoming a YouTube member. Your support allows these questions to be asked. And the more people ask these questions, the harder it becomes to ignore them. Let me try to imagine it. Not prove it, not assert it, just imagine it. If there existed, at some point in this planet's history, organisms, trees, fungi, something in between, that reached the heights of what are now our mountains, what would the world have looked like? The light would have been different. Filtered through a canopy kilometers above, the ground level of this world would have existed in a kind of permanent cathedral dimness. Green, tinged, diffuse, ancient. The atmosphere itself would have been different. More oxygen, perhaps, which some researchers have proposed was a feature of the Carboniferous, and which would have supported both the growth of such organisms and the survival of fauna scaled to live among them. The climate would have been moderated. Giant trees are, among other things, enormous water pumps, transporting groundwater to the upper atmosphere, seeding clouds, creating what some biologists call biotic pumps. A world covered in organisms of this scale would have had a fundamentally different hydrological cycle. The rain would have been different, the rivers would have been different, and when, if, these organisms died or were destroyed, what would have remained? Stumps, plateaus, flat, top mountains, columns of petrified cellular material standing as the last remnant of a trunk that once reached the clouds. A landscape littered with what we, now looking at it with our modern eyes, call geology. This is not a claim, it is a question. A thought experiment with evidence attached. The evidence suggests something much larger than what official history has been willing to consider. Here is what concerns me most. Not any single piece of evidence. Individual anomalies can always be explained. This column is a bit too regular, coincidence. This mountain is a bit too flat, erosion. This coal seam is a bit too thick, time. But when you place the anomalies together on the same map, from every continent, from geological periods that span hundreds of millions of years, a different picture emerges. The pattern repeats with unsettling precision. Flat top formations every continent. Hexagonal columnar structures every continent where relevant volcanic rock exists. Anomalously large or anomalous petrified organic material every continent. Coal seams whose thickness strains the biological models used to explain them every continent. This is the coordination problem. Not that someone coordinated a lie, but that nature apparently coordinated an anomaly. The same anomaly, in the same shape, across distances and time spans and geological contexts that, by the official account, should have produced vastly different results. If these formations are purely geological, purely the products of independent volcanic events, independent erosion patterns, independent sedimentary processes on different continents over different ages, then the similarity of their forms is itself something that demands explanation. What force produces hexagonal columns in Iceland, in Ireland, in Australia, in Wyoming, in the Deccan Traps of India, in the Faroe Islands? Always hexagonal, always roughly vertical, always resembling from a distance something that was once alive. What force produces flat tops in South Africa and Venezuela and Utah and Sri Lanka and Scotland and the Kimberley Plateau of Australia? The answer we're given is different forces, different events, different materials, but the same mathematical outcome. Physics is universal. Stress fractures in cooling material produce hexagons because hexagons are the geometry of minimum energy. Differential erosion produces flat tops because hard cap rock protects what's beneath it. These are satisfying answers. But the deeper I looked, the more I noticed that satisfying and sufficient are not the same thing. Here is what no official account has satisfactorily explained to me: the transition. If the Carboniferous forests, those vast ancient swamps of giant club mosses and scale trees, produced the coal seams we mine today, where is the transition? Where is the gradual change in the fossil record from Carboniferous giants to the trees of today? Scaled appropriately, showing the slow reduction in biological scale over the millions of years between then and now. It isn't there. Not in the way you'd expect. The Carboniferous ends, the Permian begins, and the giants are simply gone. Not gradually reduced, not fossilized in sequences showing the slow process of shrinkage across generations. Gone, as if something ended the era of the large completely and abruptly. And what followed was a different world, smaller, dimmer, less. Now, the official explanation for the Permian Triassic extinction event, the Great Dying, the largest mass extinction in Earth's history, approximately 252 million years ago, is well established. Volcanic eruptions, possibly an impact, a cascade of environmental catastrophes that wiped out perhaps 96% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrate species. But here's what strikes me. The Great Dying is precisely the kind of event that would end a world of giants. Completely, abruptly, without a fossil record of slow decline. Because there was no slow decline, there was an ending. And after the ending, a world reset. A world that grew back smaller, dimmer, with organisms that never again reached the scale suggested by the evidence in the rock. Or, and I want to sit with this for a moment, a world that grew back, but that had lost something, some atmospheric condition, some biological web of interdependency, some quality of the world that made the giants possible. And that was gone in the catastrophe, along with the giants themselves. The silence of the post-Permian Permian fossil record regarding large-scale arboreal organisms is deafening. I want to be careful here, because this is where these kinds of investigations tend to go wrong. It's easy to gesture at some unnamed authority, some coordinating power that decided what we would and wouldn't be told about the world. It's dramatic, it's satisfying, and it's almost certainly too simple. What I'm more interested in is something subtler. Not a conspiracy of active concealment, but a conspiracy of interpretation. The way that evidence is categorized before it's fully understood. The way that naming something, calling it columnar basalt, calling it differential erosion, calling it Oligocene silicified wood, closes a set of questions that might otherwise remain productively open. Is it possible that the frameworks we use to interpret geological evidence were established before we had all the evidence? That the models were built on partial data, and then, as new data emerged, were stretched and adapted to accommodate anomalies, rather than revised from the ground up? That's not a conspiracy. That's how institutions work. That's how paradigms calcify. But it means that the official explanation and the complete explanation might not be the same thing, and that the gap between them, the space where the anomalies live, is worth taking seriously. The evidence suggests something much larger was here before us. Something that left its shape in the landscape, and its chemistry in the ground, and its outline in the coal seams, and its columns standing in places we've given dramatic names, built our tourism industries around, and called geology. I want to close with what I keep coming back to. Not the evidence, not the columns or the flat tops or the coal seams or the petrified material at impossible scales. Not even the world-spanning coordination problem. The way these same shapes repeat across continents that have never shared a geological history. By the official account, what I keep coming back to is the implication. If the world once contained organisms of this scale, if the mountains are the stumps and the mesas are the cross sections and the columns are the petrified cellular tissue of beings that reached the sky, then what does that mean for our understanding of life on this planet? Not our understanding of geology, our understanding of life. Because it would mean that the current world, the world of redwoods and sequoias that feel enormous and humbling, the world of mountains that feel ancient and permanent, is not the original world. It would mean that we live in an aftermath, a world grown from the ruins of something vaster, a world that retained the stumps and the columns and the flat, capped remnants of what was, and called them mountains, called them geology, built its science around them, and moved on. It would mean that every time you look at a mesa, you may be looking at the top of something that once breathed. In whatever way something that large might breathe, and reach toward a sky that looked nothing like ours. It would mean that the cathedrals of Europe, with their columns and their vaulted ceilings, built in imitation of some older architecture that their builders half remembered but couldn't quite name, may have been echoes of something real, not myth, not metaphor, a memory. And here's what I find most haunting of all. If something of this scale existed and was lost completely and worldwide and without leaving an unambiguous record, not because the evidence wasn't there, but because we'd already decided what the evidence was before we finished looking at it, then what else have we already decided? What other shapes are we looking at without seeing? What other patterns are hiding in the landscape, waiting for the moment someone asks? Not the question we're supposed to ask, but the question underneath it. The question isn't whether giants existed. The question is, why exactly does that question feel so dangerous to take seriously? And I don't have an answer to that. But I notice the feeling. I notice it every time. And once you notice it, Once you feel that slight pressure against the question, that subtle categorization, that quiet filing of the anomaly into the drawer, marked "Explain later" before the explanation has really been examined. Once you feel it, you can't unfeel it. The stumps are still there. Whatever they were, they're still standing. And they have been standing long enough that we forgot to ask what they are.